Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to D News Plus today. This is episode 1 of 5 in our new series on mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. This week we're going to talk all about how the history of mosquitoes has affected human history, and it has quite a bit. We're going to talk about how mosquitoes work and why they like our blood and diseases that they can carry, and also diseases that they can't carry, because there are some. We're also going to talk later this week about how we fight mosquitoes and the plans to eradicate them entirely, because there are plans to do that, although that might have some consequences. Anyway, we're going to get to that. So make sure you subscribe, you stick around, you get all the episodes this week, and let's kick into it. Mosquitoes and humans have had a super long relationship. Actually, mosquitoes predate humans. So I'm sure everyone here, everyone watching this show right now, has had their own encounters with a mosquito, either by slapping them or flicking them away from your skin, or being a hero and jumping on that grenade for somebody else or slapping it away from them. But where did this mosquito thing come from? When was the first human bit by a mosquito? Obviously, we don't know specifically, but mosquitoes are super old. And insects likely evolved to drink blood at least 6 times throughout the history of our planet during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, about 145 to 65 million years ago. And there are a couple of hypotheses on how this might have happened, because we don't know, because we weren't there, everything exactly. And it's not like insects have really great fossils that we can go look at, right? So early insects started hanging out with vertebrates, maybe potentially, according to one hypothesis, for warmth, climbing into feathers or getting into fur and skin, and they started eating what was around them, organic debris like crumbs and fungus and scat. But then a little bit of dead skin, maybe got onto the plate, and they were like, I'll just try it anyway. And they were like, this is actually real good. I like this. I could eat more of this. And then they ate a little skin, they maybe ate a little feathers, maybe they ate a little hair, and then they maybe ate a little blood. And they were like, this is the best thing ever. I'm just going to eat this. This is why I'm never going to try human flesh, because what if I like it? Then I don't have any friends left. There were probably also, another hypothesis says that insects had the ability to suck a fluid out of an animal already, potentially maybe to feed on plants, and then an insect landed on a mammal and tried it then and realized that they could digest blood. Probably it would have had to happen over many generations to get good at it, but you get the point. The idea being some insect could already suck and they bit a mammal, or potentially they were around mammals, so they curbed their evolution toward eating a viable food product nearby. They do think that maybe male insects could have started eating blood to help mate with lady insects that were hanging out with vertebrates. So there are a variety of different theories. Again, we don't know exactly how. We just know that at some point throughout this planet's history, an insect evolved that could suck and digest human blood and mammal blood as well. We're not the only ones who get bit by these things. So it could have happened any number of one of these ways. I mean, a hypothesis that I just kind of came up with while doing this research is perhaps it was a starvation period, a famine period, or an extinction period, and the only way to survive was by those animals that were surviving. So they had to live off of that animal, and it could have been any number of these things. I mean, I made that last one up, just want to make sure. The oldest known modern mosquito is 79 million years old. It was found trapped in amber in Canada, very Jurassic Park. There's a more primitive mosquito that they know to exist as well that's been maybe 90 to 100 million years old. But either way, mosquitoes have been around for the entire time that humanity has. If you want to know how long humanity's been around, we have a whole series on that. So, of course, man and mosquito have had a very lengthy relationship. This means that mosquitoes have likely and have helped curb our evolution in the same way that our existence has likely curbed their evolution. We'll get into the specifics of diseases and how diseases have affected us and what diseases those carry in a little bit. But for now, let's talk about the threat of mosquito diseases and how it has affected human civilization, because it very much has. The biggest disease that has affected us is malaria. It's deadly, and it specifically is carried by the female Anopheles mosquito. Now, during the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, there were mosquitoes around, and many people blamed malaria as a partial reason that the Roman Empire fell. It was discovered or theorized by an American archaeologist who made some discoveries while on a dig, and then a British scientist and DNA expert said, yeah, actually that kind of makes sense, and an Italian expert on malarial mosquitoes said, yeah, this aligns with what we know of mosquitoes. So they took all of this different evidence and they looked at about 450 AD. At the time, malaria was still killing people, as it is now, and there were deadly mosquitoes coming into Italy from trade. They would hitch a ride with the goods of trade across the Mediterranean, and that killed children and adults. The mosquitoes would go and bite these children and bite these adults and give them malaria. And so that, of course, in turn affected the Roman economy. There were fewer people to serve as soldiers. There were fewer people to farm the land and grow food for the rest of the empire. It affected the workforce. And, of course, this wasn't the main reason for the fall of Rome. There were other reasons, but it could have played a part. Those same experts that think malaria had a part in the fall of Rome also believe that it could have had a part in saving Rome, because in 452, Attila the Hun was heading toward Rome and decided not to attack. If you look at the Hun timeline and you look at the timeline of this malaria that they think may have helped with the fall of Rome, some think that Attila was getting rumors that there were these fevers going around Rome, so he decided not to attack. You don't want to be around that. Rome, by the way, built near swamps. Mosquitoes love swamps. It has to do with their life cycle. They lay their eggs in stagnant water. But that's neither here nor there. Before the fall of Rome, Alexander the Great had also died from fever-delivered malaria. And it's not just the Euroskeeters, okay? These things were all over the world. In the 18th century in the United States, the Revolutionary War is going on between us and great bees, and the British decided on a southern strategy. They sent 9,000 men to South Carolina, and they rallied the citizens there, or were attempting to get them excited about King George III. Isn't he a great guy? Totally. But instead of hoot and holler and crown supporting Southerners, they found mosquitoes. And those mosquitoes, you guessed it, were carrying malaria. They attacked the soldiers there who had no exposure to that disease, and they were highly susceptible, so they died. And to make matters worse, doctors who wanted to treat them didn't, because this was the 1700s, have a great way of doing so. They would drain 10% of their blood or give them doses of mercury, which did not help doctors from the 18th century. Come on, you guys. One thing that did work was the bark of a tree found in the Andes Mountains, but it was super expensive to get to North America from there. And also, the Spanish ran South America, and they weren't a big fan of the British, so they were like, see ya, no thanks, not going to give you that. According to one Georgetown history professor, between June and November of 1780, more than half of the British Army was, quote, too sick to move. The British Army suffered greatly from this biological warfare that was happening to them by Mother Nature, and after fleeing the South, troops were relocated to Tidewater, Virginia, which was infested with malaria-carrying mosquitoes. After 21 days, the British Army surrendered a quarter of their troops. This was not great for the British trying to take the U.S. back from its independent and, whatever, tea partying peoples. Spoiler alert, the British ended up losing this war. I don't know if you guys are aware, but it wasn't good for them. And this isn't the only set of human circumstances that mosquitoes played a part in. A lot of World War II was fought in tropical jungles throughout the Pacific theater, and there were a lot of mosquitoes carrying malaria there. So the United States had to put a lot of effort and money to making sure their troops did not contract malaria because they would suffer and die on these tiny tropical islands. The government created the Malaria Control in War Areas program, and after the war, that became America's Centers for Disease Control. And that helped keep troops healthy at the time, which gave them an advantage over the Japanese, who did not have the same resources. The CDC is headquartered in Atlanta because the America's South was home to a lot of malaria activity. It all comes back, Today, mosquitoes still have a big effect on humans. There's a lot of the world that is still being afflicted by malaria. It's a terrible disease, but it's not the only one. There's also dengue fever, yellow fever, and other mosquito-borne illnesses. They kill an estimated 1 million people every year. One could argue mosquitoes are our greatest threat. or one of them, But to defeat our enemy, we must know our enemy. Dum, dum, dum. So tomorrow we're gonna find out how those little buggers work and what they do and how they do what they do with their little nose straws or mouth straws. I don't know. We're gonna find out tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe so you get that episode. Let us know down in the comments if you know of any other stories where mosquitoes changed the course of history, or maybe just your personal history. Worst mosquito bite you ever had, maybe? I've had some really bad ones. I grew up in the Midwest, it happens. We had to have bug repellent at my high school open house. Nobody wanted to stay, it was a disaster. The wings were good, but the mosquitoes were bad. Anyway, let us know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, we'll see you tomorrow.